The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
In the 1950s, the Brisker Rav was perhaps the undisputed Gadol Hador in Eretz Yisrael. There was a Yid whose name was Rav Tenenbaum. Rav Tenenbaum, during that period of time, was the chairman of the Vadi Yeshivas. He was the head of Vadi Yeshivas. What's the Vadi Yeshivas? There's an umbrella organization for all the yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael. And Rav Tenenbaum, a legend of a person, by the way, he was the steadfast Askin, who was Musar, Lakol, and he conducted all the affairs between government and yeshivas, which were many, even 1950s, many interactions. That was his job. One fine Erev Yom Kippur, Rav Tenenbaum is asked to appear before the Brisker Rav. Now, I have to tell you, Erev Yom Kippur is a pretty busy day for everybody. Brisker Rav is calling him to come to his house, okay? Brisker Rav calls, you come calling. I mean, he had a lot to do, but you know what? Brisker Rav calls, you come. So he comes to Brisker Rav's house. Brisker Rav sits him down. And he tells him, he says, I want you to know a terrible thing happened. Remember, it's Erev Yom Kippur. Terrible thing happened. He said, what happened? There was a bacher, he didn't register for the military, and the military police came in and they arrested him. By a certain age, in Eretz Yisrael, you have to register like you used to have to do in the United States of America, which I remember when I was a kid, to register. And they took it very seriously if they didn't register. Now, the truth is, there were Paturim for these Shiva Bachrim, but even the Paturim, register, you have to register. They may not take it, but they register. And this Bachar didn't do it, and they put him in jail, and he's sitting in jail with common criminals. I can't have this, says Brisker Rav. I can't have him. He's an Edel Bachar. And he's sitting there, mamish, with hardened criminals. You got to get him out. So Rav Tenenbaum says, yes, very important, Inyan. He said, I want you to know, today is a legal holiday. Erev Yom Kippur is a legal holiday in Eretz Yisrael. And there's nobody to talk to. Nobody's in their offices, they're all out, this and that. He said, I see how important this is. Maybe I won't even break my fast fully. Maybe I just take something tomorrow night, and right away, tomorrow night, or people start coming back, the government starts functioning again, I'll try to do what I can do to get them out. So Brisker Rav looks at him and he says, what? He says, listen, if there's something you want to tell me, but you're staring from telling me, because you're afraid about my reaction, afraid I'll get upset at you. I'm telling you it's okay, you can tell me. Tenenbaum looks at the Brisker Rav. He doesn't know what he's... He said, let me repeat myself. If there's something that you want to tell me, but you're afraid to tell me, it's okay to tell me. Tenenbaum says, Entschuldig, Kvader Rav. He says, Sag dich, als du kennst nicht, sag, als du willst nicht. Don't say that you can't do this. Tell me you don't want to do it. I don't understand. You work 364 days a year. One Erev Yom Kippur, you're off all year. You probably want to get ready for Yom Kippur. You probably want to be ready early and face Tefillah Zakah. And you probably want to have the Sudas Masefkas with your children in the house. I understand everything. But don't tell me that you can't. Tell me you don't want to. And I'll accept that. Tenenbaum gets such a zinger from the Brisker Rav, the Gadol Hador. First thing he says, okay. He gets up and he leaves. Didn't want him to yell at him again. He lives. He walks outside. He's wondering, what does the Brisker Rav want from him? It's a legal holiday. There's nobody around. There's nobody to talk to in government. What does he want from him? And he's meandering through the streets of Gula. And he passes by the gigantic green gates that used to house a place called Machne Schnellers. Machne Schnellers was a military camp right in the middle of Geula, right in Rechav Malchi Yisrael. So he passes by. Has these big green gates. I remember it still when I was a Bachar the Mir. Of course, today it's a beautiful high-rise real estate high-rise complex, right? And he decides to knock on the gate. See what happens. He knocks on the gate. And someone says, Miza. He says, Tenenbaum Mevadi Yeshivas. Bolt. Big heavy bolt gets pulled back. And the door creaks open. And there's an officer, a relatively high-ranking officer standing by the gate. He thinks quickly to himself, why would it be a high-ranking? Oh, it's a legal holiday. All the soldiers went home. They go for Chufsha. For Yom Kippur, they go home. So who's left standing? They have senior officers. Fine. So he immediately figures out a strategy how he's going to talk to this man. The first thing he says to him, Shalom, Shalom. He says, Tagid, would you like to get a bracha on Erev Yom Kippur from the Brisker Rav? The guy was from the Sephardish Yidden, the big neshamas. He says, Bevadai, bracha, avol tagid li, ma ze Brisker Rav? What's a Brisker Rav? He says, the Gadol Hador. Bemet, Rav Gadol. Bemet, Vadai. What do I need to do to get one? He said, listen, there's a Shiva Bachar, and he was arrested. And He didn't register for the draft. It's not like he's a criminal or anything. He's sitting in jail, bawish the hardened criminals. Can you imagine a whole Yom Kippur, he should sit with hardened criminals? A pure bocha like that who never ever saw anything outside of the Dalar HaMashalacha. I mean, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. Could you get him out? The guy says, I would love to. I'd love to. But if you know, today's a legal holiday. And everything's shut down. There's nobody to talk to today. So Rav Tenenbaum looks at him and he says, listen, if there's something that you want to tell me, but you're afraid to tell me, because you're afraid I'm going to be upset, it's okay, you can tell me. I said, Ma? I'll repeat myself. If there's something that you want to tell me, but you're afraid to tell me, because you're afraid about my reaction, it's okay, you can tell me. He says, Ma ta medaber shtuyot. He says, Al tagid shata lo yachol. Tagid shata lo rotzeh. Don't say that you can't, say that you don't want to. This military officer did not have the fine character traits of Rav Tenenbaum. And Rav Tenenbaum wasn't exactly the brisker Rav. So this guy pops a gut. And he gets so angry. And he's furious. And he starts screaming at Rav Tenenbaum. He's screaming at him and screaming at him. Eze chutzpah! Like what kind of, how could you do so? You're going to tell me what I can, what I can't? I explained it to you nicely, and this is how you come back to talk to me? I really wanted to help you, and this is your reaction? And he's screaming at him, and he's screaming, and he's venting all this anger, and he's venting, and it's not enough. So to fully spend his anger, he picks up a phone that's right there by the gate, and he starts screaming into the phone. Some rabbi came in. He's starting to tell me, and he's screaming into the phone how he's. The voice on the other end of the phone says, Maurot said, what does he want? He said, the yeshiva bachur didn't sign for the draft. He wants him after Yom Kippur. The voice on the other end says, done. Misudar. And what every Yid who lived in Yerushalayim at that time would have wanted, a bracha for the brisker Rav, this guy was zeichet to have an Erev Yom Kippur for the brisker Rav.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org